Welcome to the December 18th bhyve production user call. We have Andrew, Roman, Jan, Hans, Hazem, and myself, Michael, so far, and some call for testing news. The Open ZFS Summit recordings are up. Those shouldn't be too hard to find. I'll make sure the wiki's got the latest links. And as of January, I will not have a time budget to work on these calls, so I have to reinvent myself, and I'm open to ideas. Hans, it sounds like you've made progress negotiating with the FreeBSD Foundation and you've started CPU ID work. How is that going? And is there anything you can tell us at this time?
Yeah, so well, this is just starting. So for about 10 days, I'm officially a contractor for the FreeBSD Foundation, and I'm working on the full CPU ID control project that we proposed to the foundation a couple of months ago, where we had the first prototype work being done in July, I believe, to show that it's viable.
Excellent.
And yeah, well, as far as I can tell, it's going well. I've just started with it, so
Sure, no
there's
worries.
nothing to tell about it right now.
Okay, well, we will watch this space. And Sean of Hardened BSD pointed out that there are some interesting commits landing for what looks like the plumbing for unprivileged bhyve execution, which I know is of interest to quite a few developers. And Rob Norris's quiz is quite interesting in that it's like a bhyve, a QEMU, KVM user-facing app you can just control C and pipe out, and it's quite cool. So that's some exciting plumbing. And a reminder to us all from the previous notes, there's a bug. Hey, Alexei, if you're around, a bug in which the newer Intel cards are not correctly caught as a generation, and the bhyve is not doing quite the right thing. But with all things FreeBSD 15 kind of in the air and settling, we won't worry about that right now. But it is a pleasure to bring Roman and Hazem together. Roman is working on LibVirt, and Hazem is working on Sylve, which is relying heavily on LibVirt. I have set up an Ampere machine for both of your uses, and perhaps Roman, go ahead. I think this is your first call. Could you just briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you're working on?
Yeah, hello. I've been actually working on LibVirt and bhyve and the ZFS in LibVirt for quite some time already. I don't know, maybe 10 years or something like
Wow.
that. Yeah, it's been a while. And as of recently, I'm sponsored also by FreeBSD Foundation to continue my work on improving LibVirt on FreeBSD. And I have been adding recently a bunch of new features and things like that. But specifically for this call, what caught my attention is the ARM64 support. So I've started looking, well, just today actually into adding support for this. And actually I was able to quickly draft the patch to make things work. But definitely that's quite a bit of work to do it properly. Um, I'm not sure if at what point should I deep dive into details, because it feels like there are some of the bhyve things that was not there for some reason are making becoming more crucial for this. For example, for quite some time, I've been missing the proper capabilities support from bhyve. So, for example, I want to ask given that I have a bhyve binary, I want to know what kind of devices it supports, for example. And with ARM64, it feels that it's more important because the subset of supported devices is different on AMD64 and ARM64. So, and also I actually brought up this topic on the virtualization mailing list for several times, I think. And also, I think maybe 5 years ago, so I tried to draft up some patch for bhyve to drop out capabilities support in JSON or something like that. I even don't remember already. And I was suggested that I could, for example, parse the manual page, but with this it could work at some point, but with ARM64 support, I don't think it really works because the manual page doesn't explicitly mention that some devices are not supported for ARM64.
Indeed. I was looking for something on the page and it was missing something
Does
that should have been there. So yeah, that needs some attention. Go ahead, Jan.
does bhyve validate the configuration before dumping it? If you give it a configuration and then set the pseudo configuration value for having it dump the configuration, would that work, or is the configuration at that point unvalidated?
And you're referring to the explicit John Baldwin configuration format?
Yes, but you also can use it on the command line, just one key value pair per option.
Interesting. Yeah, this is
And
a good point.
some things are effectively only reachable via that. And I wonder, there's a special value you can set to a non-zero value, and then bhyve will just exit dumping the configuration, I think, to standard out, maybe to standard error.
Correct. There is a
And I
flag to dump
wonder
it.
if at that point the configuration is just parsed or
Oh,
already validated as these drivers are supported.
if I hear you correctly, you're thinking that even if you use whatever bhyve syntax of choice, you could use the dump feature to dump the configuration. And the question is there a validation during that step that
Yeah,
it
is
may
there
not be
validation
obvious
before
or
dumping
implicit?
so that you could just
That's a great
ask it to
question.
dump a configuration and basically probe for the possibly existing drivers you have bindings for in LibVirt without actually creating a guest?
That's a very good question. And if there isn't, that could be rather useful,
It would
especially
be a
for
bit
cases
ugly to
like
do
this.
that because it means spinning up bhyve processes to probe every time you want to use the library, unless you have some kind of
Hmm.
host-specific cache.
Dash V validate, that's only done upon request, maybe. I don't know. Or DV dump and validate, whatever it's. Yeah, anyway, interesting. Very interesting. Um, Roman, there's just one idea, but this is the time and place to get as technical as you want because it is recorded and I am taking the best notes I can. So this will be the best FreeBSD libvirt docs of the hour. So continue.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's actually the main topic that I have
Okay.
right now. And yeah, I didn't try the configuration dump feature because originally I wrote the code when the configuration was not supported. So
Of course.
I'm using the command line arguments
Of course.
mostly. And yeah, but I do have the host cache, so I don't have to probe it every time I run the spin up a new VM. So that shouldn't be bad. Yeah, I will definitely take a look. Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah, I like that.
So
I don't know if
Go
it's
ahead.
validating, it's just an idea.
It's an idea, but it is a very deterministic strategy as opposed to parsing a manual page, which if you're missing manuals, you will not be doing that. And I suppose here and now you just need to manually, no pun intended, make sure that your two different ARM64 and AMD64s are different. Are they in C or is it something scripted such that level of dynamic awareness of its platform is a good thing? What is libvirt written in? Or Python, was
It,
it?
it's in C
Okay,
mostly.
got it. So,
So you could, if you really wanted to, you could make an if-def based on the architecture, but oh god, that's such a mess to maintain.
right.
Yeah, well, I also try to probe the new features. So basically, when a new feature appears in, I don't know, current, I add a probe for this feature. And if you're running on current, you can use this. And you are running on the older release and want to use it, LibVirt will say you that, oh no, this is not supported instead of crashing somewhere late when you end up
So
trying to run the guest with the wrong configuration.
not that it's a pleasant approach, but what would definitely work is read the relevant sysctls to get the OS version ABI number and the architecture, and then have a built-in knowledge base of this this feature exists in this FreeBSD version. I know nobody wants to maintain such a mapping, but you could write a simple to use API to infer that from two sysctls.
It would be much more sensible to just extend bhyve to dump whatever config options it understands. And to
Yeah.
answer that question of yours, dumping the configuration does not validate anything
Okay.
other than
No surprise.
correct.
Other than the syntax.
So
Hopefully that.
I had CPU ID options long before there was any pausing for those options. In the end, it's just a NV list, and the system looks the various parts of bhyve look only at the config nodes they are interested in and only on those that they know about. So if you add that the code
Let him
doesn't
finish.
know it's there, but it's completely harmless and nobody tells you about it.
So one thing I would love to see in bhyve is to change the configuration loading so that it starts up and then a child process gets started, which reads in the configuration and sends the relevant file descriptors in the Unix socket, because that would set us up for future hot plugging support. So that you could just, because bhyve runs in capability mode, so you cannot open the descriptors, but if the loading part already opens, for example, a file descriptor to your disk, and then sends you the configuration as an NV list with the file descriptor attached, which you can do with NV lists over a Unix socket. This would, in theory, be able to be extended to allow runtime reconfiguration, like add a new tag device to your running bhyve guest if it needs a new network interface.
So
Of course, that needs get support and PCI hot plugging and potentially hot unplugging in bhyve. But it would make it a lot easier to target.
Config bhyve, it can certainly be implemented, but whether that needs to be done in a separate process or a Unix domain socket is really an implementation detail.
Yeah, it would make it a lot easier to target bhyve as an API if it's an NV list over a socket interface instead of template out a config file and restart the process.
what would we call that? Dynamic device support, such that devices are in some way dynamic and can be added and removed, but we need some scaffolding to do that.
There's things like PCI hot plug. There's things like for virt-manager, for instance, you can plug in new devices on the fly in theory, and supporting that kind of stuff. But that could be any kind of.
Let him finish, please.
Sorry.
The current structure of bhyve as the device emulations work, they're in no way prepared for this.
So virt-SCSI is a bit of a special case because it is a virtual SCSI host bus adapter, and hot plugging just adds new LANs to the bus.
Well, that's
so there is no PCI level runtime configuration. And right now, at least in FreeBSD, virt-SCSI does not generate the hot plug events if you add or remove a disk. As soon as you use a remove disk, you will get an error. The FreeBSD, at least SCSI stack in the form of CAM, will reprobe the bus, find the missing device, a removal, and then remove it. And you can manually do a CAM control, rescan all or name of virtual SCSI bus, and then it will find the new devices. But it doesn't happen automatically because the virt-SCSI host driver in bhyve does not send hot plug events when you add a new LAN.
Well, in any case, if you want to support anything like dynamic configuration loading, you're going to rewrite the whole thing anyway. That's what I would add.
That's
the way
level of invasiveness.
Structured is in no way prepared for this.
And there's no equivalent for a virt.io tap device that happens to be magically hot pluggable, like a UE device, a USB tap device that can be brought in and out more dynamically.
One of the easy to do workarounds for a tap would be to just pre-create the interface always in the configuration, like create tab interfaces, and then rebind the tab interface.
That's
So
yeah,
that
okay.
so that you always see a virt-io net device in the guest. You just kind of change its attachment to a different tab device. But at that point, why bother? Why not also already create a real tab device and add it to different bridges, VLANs, whatever?
Hmm. Got it. Okay, well, back to libvirt. Uh, Go ahead, Roman. I hope that is just paints a little picture in that general direction. Uh, do you think it's you mentioned that you have a simple sort of framing of what needs to happen. Is this a major project to bring ARM64 up to speed or somewhat minor?
Um, I'm not sure with these capabilities. That's probably one of the most time-consuming part or most uncertain part, I would say. But the rest doesn't seem to be very complicated. I think it's quite unlikely that it will be implemented in the next LibVirt release, but probably in the release after the next one, probably I will be able to bring up some patches for that.
What cadence does libvirt itself follow for releases?
It's usually releases once a month, except
Oh, okay.
these Christmas holidays, which
Sure.
skip the release.
Of course. Okay. What I now turning to Hazem, is there just a basic shim of all these priorities that could be a simple shim to get him going with Sylve, just talking to one type of device, be it storage or networking or something? Is there some short path to getting up and running so he can continue his work in parallel? Because Hazem, I understand that Sylve just sort of hit a wall when libvirt was not very happy on ARM64.
Hello, sorry.
Yes, no
Could you
worries.
repeat the question?
So, how would you describe the issues you found on libvirt on ARM64? What was the first thing that did not work for you?
I think LibVirt kind of didn't know that it was possible to run in ARM64, which I think mirrors what Man just said. It makes sense.
Okay, so step one is platform awareness regardless of device awareness, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds
And
at least simpler than fine-grained device detection. Go ahead.
yes, and I think it's calling some x86 only sysctls, which was kind of weird.
Hmm.
But maybe they just didn't check on ARM64. That's probably the case, and they just assumed it would be there on ARM as well, which is the thing that I would do as well. Makes sense because those are like very common looking, sysctls, which is
Hmm.
like the port count and things like that. So that is probably the first thing that broke because regardless of the hypervisor, I think libvirt kind of checks the capabilities of the CPU. So like what are the core counts are, or how many sockets does it have, things like that. I think so. In ARM64 on FreeBSD, it looks kind of different,
I
but
wonder
it's
if there's a
definitely
feature you can, if you simply look for the GIC v3 feature, you would know you're on ARM64. Could it be as simple as that?
yeah. It could be. These are actually the first checks. I think last week I mentioned the commit. I mean, not the commit, the line where they were checking for these core counts and things like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was definitely there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although I think it was a GIC v4, according to what I read. Oh, and
Yeah, I think it's actually trying to get the basic information about the host it's running on, like CPU frequency, but they're probably required for Sylve, but for libvirt itself, it's not necessary to run the actual VMs. So at this point, I can run VMs on ARM64, but yeah, CPU frequency and things like that are not supported yet.
okay. Do you have everything now from me that to unblock you for the hardware?
Yeah,
Do you
as
have-
long as I can continue using this host that I have, that should be good to continue working on this.
Okay, great. Yeah, we had some WireGuard issues. I found that sometimes a key will just, a pair of keys will just not work until you just replace them with some fresh ones. And that's happily works, even though the syntax is otherwise identical. Well, great. Well then, fair game on that machine. However, I will be away starting Sunday. So I do have someone, a co-founder of FreeBSD, who could either reboot it or do something. And I do have out-of-band management. So let's just stay in touch over Signal and we'll coordinate how you both can get in there. But the machine is entirely yours to work with. Hazem, any other news from the Sylve department?
I've just been working on some ZFS stuff mostly.
You mentioned refactoring.
Yes,
Is that progressing?
Yeah, it is actually. The thing is, I had this user who had like what 500,000 snapshots, and they were
Okay.
like, we wanted to see if this would work. I'm like, that is one problem I didn't even, think about. So now I'm kind of not working with just ZFS commands. I kind of have to think about, my own kind of database tables and stuff like that for that. But it's a nice problem to have. So I thought I'd, kind of figure it out.
Feel
So,
free to check the
Haizam,
last few years of Open ZFS calls because that's the kind of scaling issues we definitely touch on. And I'm sure Jan has some thoughts on that. Go ahead, Jan.
yeah, the thought I have is there is a kernel module in FreeBSD called NL sysevent or something like that. Let me check, which makes the dev B events available as Netlink messages so that you can have multiple event consumers of hot plugging events and all ZFS dataset creation, destruction, snapshots, and so on are output over that bus. So you could subscribe to that via Netlink to those changes, and then you don't have to scan the snapshots every time someone wants to visualize it, but you would subscribe for changes in that category via Netlink. And after you have the subscription registered, you scan all the snapshots in the data sets you potentially care about, just all if you don't have a restriction to some subset. And then you only have to probe snapshot properties when you get a Netlink message, or if Netlink informs you that you dropped a message because the buffer overran, then you have to rescan once. That way you wouldn't have to slow down the UI to list it if someone goes into the dataset management, where we could already have an up-to-date mirror of the true ZFS dataset list output, so that you would maintain a cache.
But these only work for like snapshots that are going to be taken, right? Like the new ones.
No, that would work for all changes, so that you register for the changes as an event stream, and afterward you resynchronize by scanning once, so during Sylve startup. And then when someone clicks, you just have in Go a dictionary of snapshot name or some sort of sorted list or whatever data structure you want, where you have a name mapping, or you have just an array with all of them per level or something, so that you rebuild the tree structure, whatever you want, and work for you.
But
And
if
you
you
That
boot
could
actually
keep
works.
if
the
you boot a system
structure, and
cold,
then
do you have the history with that or only for new events? I guess is his question.
as I said, you have to
Okay.
scan once to get the full list.
Oh, I see. So you scan it, but the history
And
is preserved, or you scan ZFS for periodically.
no, you can't scan the zpool history. First of all, it's
Oh, yeah,
quite
well,
an
that's a whole
expensive
different one. Yep,
operation.
yep.
And the zpool history is potentially incomplete because it's a ring buffer.
Correct. But then you're saying you just list all snapshots and go from there, and then from there moving forward, you use the Netlink events?
No, the other way around. You
Okay.
register the subscription first with the
Okay.
kernel
Got it.
so that you get the change then, because otherwise you have a race condition where changes between scanning and subscribing wouldn't be reported because you get
Okay.
only
Good point.
told about changes after you have subscribed. So you would subscribe to the event stream, and then you could model it with Go routines. So you have one Go routine, and you have the subscriber which just feeds event into that channel, and you spawn off a Go routine which scans everything and feeds it to the same channel, so that you would have two producers at startup, and the scan all producer would only be scanning again if you get an event that you have missed messages because of a buffer overrun.
But then to see snapshots from, say, 2 years ago, what operation adds those to the wisdom that it's following?
I
A
just said
list?
that.
Well, okay, well then I'm through the Go routine. Which of these two? You said 1 and 2. Register the subscription and spawn off a Go routine to scan for new
So in
events.
Go, because Go routines are the units of concurrency,
Yeah.
and they're pretty lightweight, I would set up one consumer for where you kind of build up the index of existing data sets and snapshots and so on.
Using which of these two steps? Build up the index where?
Both.
Both. Okay. Thank you.
And then you have the one which subscribes. It subscribes to the right messages via
Yeah.
Netlink.
Yeah.
And then it gets told when the new snapshot is created, new data set is created, a snapshot is destroyed, a data set is destroyed, renamed, and so on. It gets an event. And you have to scan once to get the current status in, because the changes will be only changes from the point after you subscribed.
Okay, so I guess my confusion is that that status is visible through Netlink, not through just a ZFS list -t snap.
Of course, but you don't know when to run that command.
Okay.
So the Netlink tells you this data set has changed. This operation happened to this data set.
Okay.
Whereas you don't want to run ZFS list every second.
No, of course not. And that's why what I'm getting at is how do you do that once unobtrusively moving so you can move forward with a nifty new modern mechanism.
I think you've never written a concurrent program because I just told you 3 times.
Well, wait, but I know ZFS. I don't know concurrence programming, so I know you need to obtain that information from what could be a few years ago, and you want to retrieve it. But you're saying it's done through the Go subscription, not through any amount of listing
it's
snapshots.
done by either running ZFS list and parsing the output, or calling libzfs and
So it is a list. So it's a
between...
yes. Okay, thank you. Hazem, is that helpful in looking at a possible architecture for handling that?
One of the things is that he mentioned was the fact that events, right? Like most of these snapshots would go through us, so they would call an API.
That's a good point.
So we kind of know when they do it, and we can invalidate cache that way. But this would help us to do out of band snapshots where, like, if they don't do it via the UI and they have an existing mechanism in place, then this would really help, because then we don't have to build the stuff for that. Like we can monitor snapshots that come outside of Sylve and Sylve at the same time. That'll be cool. So we can do it.
You have to be prepared for someone running some kind of ZFS snapshot management tool, be that something like ZFS Snap or ZRapper or something. And so there will be, or just doing a recursive snapshot of the whole pool or something like that.
Well, he's targeting someone using a graphical user interface through Sylve. However, if these are new events you're subscribing to, you get news of new events by definition, regardless of the source of that snapshot action, be it manual by the command line, etc. No?
Yes, exactly. The notification would be sent regardless of if you're doing it yourself or someone else is doing it. That's the right way to go, because just assuming that you totally own the system gets you into the same trap as the TrueNAS middleware, which breaks the moment you do anything on the command line to the host system. And that kind of fragility is not something you want.
Hazen, is that your background noise?
No,
Someone's
he's
No, I don't
talking.
muted.
think so.
It's whoever is calling via phone.
The phone. Who's the phone?
Oh, sorry. I thought I was muted.
Ah, yes. Hello. Philip. No worries. We found it. Great. Okay. Is anyone working on a replication tool here?
Why reinvent the wheel?
Nope.
No. Okay, good. So we won't talk about the replication aspect of snapshotting, but do note the wonderful discussion we just had about notifications on snapshot events, regardless of their source, because I think seeing all these come together would be freaking awesome.
So
So,
what do you have in mind?
well, Jan has just described how you could rather quickly have the sort of, for lack of a better term, framework to stay up to date on snapshot events for the purpose of, well, populating his GUI and managing them, but then efficiently key point not running ZFS list-t snapshot every few seconds because that would be a horrible operation, but you do it once strategically and then maintain the state through Netlink events. So
Mhm.
that sounds like we're collectively onto something, regardless of which direction it goes. And if that helps Sylve and LibVirt under the hood, it's progress. So,
I mean, I wonder if we could. I mean, Jan, actually, this might be a question for you. Could we leverage just the pull history to, to keep up to date with things? Because that wouldn't be a bad log to tail. And then, like, I
Um,
mean, the way I think about it is like wedge Zelta into, a log tailer with that, and then,
so,
keep abreast of snapshot changes.
um, right now, the ZFS has a mechanism to send notifications into user space.
Hmm.
Uh, on Linux, that's the ZFS event daemon, so it's its own thing. On FreeBSD, it uses the existing infrastructure in the form of the devctl device, so devctl4, which is then used by the devd daemon, so the device daemon which responds to all kind of hot plug events. And ZFS stuff just shows up as a kind of hot plugging event because that's the mechanism FreeBSD has, and it's a pretty good fit. But the problem is that the devctl device is reliable. So if you don't consume the messages, you can slow down the system and so on. And because of that, there can be only one trusted consumer, which by convention is devd. You could have something like Slyvy drop a configuration file in to run some notification helper program, which tells Slyvy the kind of argument list. So, but that's kind of annoying because you would have to write some lightweight helper program which tells Slyvy via some kind of interprocess communication mechanism, which must work out of the box. So it would have to be over some Unix socket or a named pipe or something. Of course, there could be resource limitations like, oh yeah, sorry, this user doesn't get to run more processes right now because of what the host operator did or whatever. Mm, And historically, it used to be that devd was the one and only consumer. Also, it doesn't work if you're running inside a jail because devd can only run once on the whole system. And technically, bhyve can be used inside of jail, so it would be bad to have this kind of optimization make it impossible to run Slyvy in a jail. But with the redirection I described, it should be possible to consume those events even from inside a jail. So at least if it's a VNet enabled one, which gets used to write socket type. But yeah, these
point of
hot plug
order,
events.
I sure like the notion of using FreeBSD plumbing as the foundation for middleware-like things rather than completely rewritten from scratch middleware that will probably rot the moment it's written. So good work,
It
everyone. I love
wouldn't
this
be a
thinking.
kind of middleware would just be a way to keep
I said plumbing for
a
middleware.
cache. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Keeping a cache of existing ZFS data sets, both file systems, volumes, and their snapshots,
Yes.
within the user space process, which would be almost perfectly up to date because it's an asynchronous mirroring process into user space,
Jan,
which
while
is
we're
good enough
there,
for some kind of user interface.
okay, while we're there, what would just way hypothetically, very briefly, what would a Z cache, ZFS caching information subscription available contraption look like that could pretend it's, I don't know, SQLite or other data transfer info things or MQTT or
Mhm.
something? What would a centralized little ZFS, be it daemon or otherwise, look like that gives you truly validated,
Yeah,
up-to-date history rather than ZPL history, which
well,
can drop stuff off out of the ring buffer? What might it look like and what could it provide?
it would be some kind of neat cache for stuff like Zelda to use or something if you just had the state mirrored into a file so that you can just get the current system state out of that file as a stream of messages or something. Uh, that file could be periodically just compacted by rewriting it if its density gets too low. So basically, you track when writing if it overwrites a message, and let's say the density is less than a tenth or so of the file size, so 90% of the entries are useless
Hmm.
of the event, you would write a new one and then atomically rename the file.
Or
Um,
heck, syslog. I mean, how do we bridge the gap between all of that whole ecosystem of data collection contraptions like be it syslog,
yeah, but
MQTT,
you
and
could throw it into an MQTT broker if you wanted to. That would work perfectly fine. Use this ML sys event to mirror the pool state into an MQTT. That's perfectly doable. The kernel module is called NL for Netlink sys
Oh,
event.
you found it? Is there a manual page you can link or something cool? Okay.
I think it. Let's check if it
I
has
did
a
a search
manual
and I only
page.
found this Gen ML or whatever the heck. I found Gen L and NL sys event. No, that's what you said. Then I found generic netlink, which might not be it. I've got it in the doc there, but I'm
Generic
happy to be
sys.
wrong.
So generic. So Netlink has a bunch of hard-coded message types
Okay.
for stuff like interface configuration, routing, in Linux firewalls, and so on. But to make it more expressive for other things, exactly, there's generic netlink. It's one of the reserved types. So you
Okay.
create a netlink generic socket, and then you ask the kernel, do you have a service by that name? It says yes, hopefully, and there's a notifier family. I've written a little C example
Okay.
to consume that event stream. Uh,
Uh,
yeah, it's
ooh,
pretty
is this
easy
it?
to. No, that's the routing netlink.
Okay,
It's the
then is there a missing
GE
manual page that
netlink.
should be here?
No, no, well, yes, the kernel module probably should have its own. Um, I don't know that. Click on GE net.
That's where I started.
Yeah, that's the right socket type to use.
So that's the one we care about for this?
Yes, that's so generic is the extensible one so that you can have multiple
Okay.
name protocols instead of one with a hard-coded enum.
Okay. Thank you.
And it's one of the Netlink generic protocols in FreeBSD.
Yes.
And yeah,
Oh, any other completely out of the wings opinions on that, observations, Hans, Hazem, Andrew? I mean, you see this whole notion of getting up-to-date information and preserving it and not having to brute force retrieve it frequently could be a good thing. Because again, I don't want to see Daniel come up with one strategy for Zalta, and Hazem come up with another strategy for Sylve, and then additional person come up with additional strategy for their tool, because we're in the end just retrieving the same ZFS history and keeping up to date with it. Just thinking out loud. Uh, Hazem, you were last. Any other topics relating to Sylve news? Is there anything people should test? I do recall your message being, hey, hold off until the refactoring because some stuff will change. Is it a good time to test it for the holidays?
I think yes. I should push a commit today just addressing these ZFS stuff,
Okay.
and then it would be good to test again. So I'll keep everyone posted on the Discord because a couple of people have asked me to do that because they were actually on the refactor branch. They were playing
Okay.
around with it. It's kind of cool. So I think yeah.
Great. Well, keep up the good work, and I'm so glad, Roman, you've been very responsive on his needs, and I mean, the whole supply and demand of Sylve and LibVirt are great because that was years overdue. LibVirt didn't get much attention because nothing much was consuming it. And actually, Roman, while we have you, could you describe the status of virt-manager on FreeBSD? I've tried it in the past. I got some very basic stuff up and then kind of left it at that.
I honestly I don't use virt-manager very actively myself.
Okay.
I mainly use it in view mode, so I have quite a few of VMs, and I usually connect with virt-manager to do some basic stuff like VNC connections and some other basic things. I do not create new VMs often with that because, well, for me it's easier to copy the template XML file and make adjustments. But actually, I think, well, obviously, virt-manager is more desktop-oriented tool and not
Mhm.
admin-oriented tool. And I think that currently there is one important feature in bhyve which is making things a little more complicated than they probably should be. And this is that currently the boot order thing is not working properly. And I think I'm I'm really not sure what's the problem. There is a PR in Bugzilla, and also I think it could be related to both bhyve and also the ADKey tool, which also has a PR in Bugzilla to update it to the most recent version. And it's also both of these PRs hanging for at least for several months. And
Yep. That would
I
be
think,
Alexei, who maybe can join. That's been kind of ridiculous. Do you have a link to that PR for the boot order? Because yeah, it's like all these efforts, yet no movement.
Well,
yeah, because
the boot order is written to the EFI variables file if you split the boot ROM into code and variables. Yeah, you can set it via the EFI menus or CLI, or at runtime via EFI boot manager command in FreeBSD, or other guest operating system specific tools to write to that. But I don't
well,
know that.
what I mean that in bhyve you can specify on the command line, for example, for your disk device, the boot order with some integer value, and currently it's not respected.
Oh, interesting.
I'm
Interesting.
trying to look up the Bugzilla issue, or
The
it's
boot
called
index.
yeah, boot index. Yes, not boot order.
So if it doesn't understand the firmware configuration file. And the guest has to understand that. Okay.
Yeah, I found the link.
Mhm. Zimmerman page. Sorry, not the back, the feature
Okay,
description.
thank you for posting that. Perfect. That's exactly where it should be. Let me drop it in here. And don't get me wrong, does that mean you could, in theory, use the configure the UEFI configuration file without UEFI and simply use it for the boot order? Let's take a look what we're
Just a
talking about.
stupid question. Does the boot index start at 0 or at 1? Not that the other device, the true one, has boot index 0 and you're setting the one you want to boot to boot index 1, and so it just loses when it comes to priority. Or do you have to raise the boot index of the other devices by assigning them a boot index of 2, 3, 4?
Oh, boom, there it is.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
Corbin.
EDK2 doesn't support it.
Yeah, but this comment
Oh,
is like more than a
over a
year
year.
old.
Yeah, it is.
So you need to continue reading.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so
Okay, yep. Corbin, there's a review. Oh, make it boot. Make it
yeah,
work.
over
Okay.
a year ago.
Yeah. Boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay.
It's just a verbose output.
Yeah. Yep. La 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 la. Does this really work now? Oh dear. Okay. Lots of output. Ba-bum. Oh, there's a positive response.
So you have to add some device uh, on the LPC bus, some kind of firmware configuration pseudo device.
Is that dash of ROM? Yeah. Do you see it in the syntax? I'm not seeing it, but I'm easily.
So in comment 14, Corvin asks,
Oh, boot index one. Okay, here we go.
have you set the, no, not just have you set the boot index, but have you set the LPC device, so LPC firmware configuration to QEMU.
Oh, I see it there. I'll grab both of these. Got it. Yes, interesting.
So you have to, in your bhyve configuration, expose the device which contains the desired boot order by the hypervisor.
Yeah, it's all there, and it
It,
probably
it
makes
doesn't
sense
look like
to
One at
read
a
the
time.
complete problem report
yeah.
till the end.
Okay, I'll get there, but at least here's some meat to start with. Oh, I should make that not wrap. Okay, so moving on to the end. This works. Okay, maybe I should
Currently
have
there's
used that.
stuff in vm-bhyve as a pull request. Let's see if those went through.
Okay.
Yeah, okay,
Copy.
they were approved and approved. So those went in August of last year. No,
Oh,
this
there
year.
you are. Hello. Okay, we're at the end. So leaving off with you, Roman, we've got created attachment, EDK2, not working.
So I found my test code to test this ML sys event kernel module.
Oh, well, hold on. Let's finish up hold that thought.
Yep.
So Roman, are we still kind of broken on this? Is that accurate? This is not a thing?
Yeah, it's still broken for me. I can double check again, but not sure if it doesn't look like anything happened that could fix this.
Got it. And it's a bhyve question or an EDK2 question or both?
I have no idea. And
Got it. No
also
worries.
we have I think it was mentioned in this PR that there is also ADK2 update.
Well, yeah, Alexei's been working on that. He's been joining calls. He hasn't lately. I've pinged him to join. He's been a little frustrated that no one is responding to his rather massive update to EDK2. So I'm a little
Yeah,
disappointed there. It's
yeah.
like, what's up with that? Well,
If people are
uh,
so afraid of updating it, we should just create a new port for the new version like we have for
bingo.
Postgres or MySQL and get his work into the tree. Damn it.
Yes, please. I'll put it in big letters here. State of
Yeah, it's a good idea because, well, I imagine that people will generally will not use this dash devil version of whatever you call it, but it is very convenient to test it at least.
Well, so
Don't
two
just
ideas
name
are
it
devil. Another
slash
one is
devil. It's not a development version.
just
It's
version
the
them.
latest release. Damn it. We are just
Yeah.
stuck on an ancient end of life version of that stuff,
Yep.
which is no longer supported upstream. And we're just, whoever is maintaining that port is just refusing to give the okay, apparently, as port maintainer. Kind of annoying, but is right. If he needs things, the old version needs to be like that. But then we have to have a new port for the new branch. And that's it. Just name it after the release branch and like 2025 something and make it available. One more port is not going to hurt in project infrastructure. So
And being a port that's under bugs, not reviews, correct, Jan?
I think so.
I'm
You can do
looking.
either, but he decided to put it on bugs.freebsd.org, as in my opinion, you should. So he did
Okay,
everything
here it
right,
is.
and he
Update to
was just
2025-08. What a concept. Here.
left to dry.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Okay.
Yep.
I'll post it in here. I found it. I'll even
This
leave the original
issue.
syntax of pretty colors and nice burgundy and whatever that color that is. Okay.
What's the
Well,
status?
uh, here,
So
sure, I'll bring it up.
it's still stuck at port maintainer question mark. If we want to be pushy, we could just say, hey, this is a timeout.
Hmm.
Well, I would have to read the whole history if it's truly a timeout or if it was refused. Um,
Ha. Yeah, whatever you do, don't do the right thing. Heck, I'll grab the two of those. Come on, browser. Nope. Anyway, so we have an awesome nexus of Roman Hazem and Hans on these topics. Anything to discuss as a group? Because I mean, we've touched on some amazing little interrelated components that, I mean, get this working. We are in great shape, but here we are stuck with like reviews just stale as heck and boot index issues and simple stuff where, don't get me wrong, Hazem, I guess you want a little checkbox to say, boot to CD-ROM before hard drive and have it work. What a concept.
Unironically, we do have boot orders in the UI, but it does not work.
But it doesn't work. Good Lord. Or you have to have a crazy workaround like reordering the devices in the config just because boot order isn't working, or some other crazy work. Yeah, I hope someone's listening to this. I really do. I truly do. Other topics, other ideas, other questions. We realized yesterday that this might be the end of the year call insofar as there's some pretty major holidays for some showing up in a week. So next week might be dicey. Who knows who will drop in? I don't know. Any 2026 wish list items for bhyve, or have we pretty much nailed them all here? If we can get these things working, we are in great shape. Hans's CPU ID work, which is the foundation for fancier migration, and a bunch of other things. And of course, Hazem's amazing GUI. Roman providing the plumbing for it. A move of those tools once working to, say, Illumos, and Daniel's replication behind the scenes doing some pretty darn mature adult in the room replication. Please do check out his talk at the OpenZFS User and Developer Summit because it's really good about serious replication from a regulated environment perspective. And Jan commented in chat, yes, how do we get faster than 10 gig per second networking without stress and workarounds and yes, SRIOV and other stuff.
With SRIOV, it already works.
It does,
if you have
exactly.
the right
Workaround.
hardware.
Correct.
And everything works fine, but that's why I said software networking.
Yep.
Not hardware pass-through. Because especially if you have some kind of complicated network topology, maybe in the VXLAN or some other kind of overlay, or you need some kind of dynamic reconfiguration, and
Yep.
you need more than just SRIOV can give you.
And related to that would be the, shall we say, hot pluggable networking like we mentioned. So the moment that on your working system a higher performance device comes along, you just plug the sucker in and move to it. And have a nice day.
Nah, that's not really an important feature in my book.
Okay.
It would be nice to have, and it would be impressive, but we have more urgent issues.
So, do we know why Suspender and Zoom aren't built by default yet?
I don't know. Apparently because some people wanted to change the serialization format to improve it.
Great.
Because the one we currently have is kind of ad hoc. It works, but that's it.
Was that where Rob Wing was maybe going to work on that or something from 1,000 million
I think
years
several
ago?
people have promised to fix this because I think the University of Bucharest or something started that project,
Oh,
right?
yeah, but they're no longer in the
They
bhyve
just
business from what I
exactly
can
they're
tell.
just unresponsive.
Well, no, they've said they're not in the bhyve business from what I can tell. I talked to them about reimbursements for a certain conference, shall not be named. So yeah, okay. I'll make this pretty. Andrew, as our global representative of all things, did we lose you? We lost you. Well, from previous conversations, it sounds like things like Sylve Illumos would be great, but hey, if we can get ARM64 out for the 1.0 release and shortly thereafter Illumos, that would be absolutely awesome. But that's a whole different bucket of plumbing for Illumos because they handle a lot of things differently. Got it. Well, everyone, it is a pleasure. Yes, sir.
Part of the suspend resume is also the management socket for bhyve, which is a blocker for any other advanced stuff, like, for example, a reconnectable console would be something which would be really useful if you just had bhyve act as a server you can reconnect to for the normal console, not just for the virt.io console, because you need the kind of legacy emulated serial port as your default serial console for most operating system and the firmware.
It's just like jumping on a tmux session or something.
No,
Same
so that you don't
effect.
need
Same effect to the
tmux.
user. No, I said like. I used the word
Yeah,
like.
like, okay. Yeah, in that case,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Just like tmux is a server built something without the multiplexing logic in
Yeah.
so that you can just get the
A
serial
bit
console.
like the VNC server, and of course, should the VNC server support RDP and Spice and other things?
No.
Okay.
Spice maybe if someone really wants to do it. RDP is a very complicated beast. And
Well, there is
kinda
open RDP, but is it, I don't know,
there
GPLE and
is
stuff?
3x RDP and so on, or something like that, yes. Uh, or whatever it's called.
Okay.
But those are kind of an X server, which is also an RDP server, and then you can RDP into your virtual X server. You can
Hmm.
do that inside the guest.
Yes, you can.
So
Oh,
there's
I've
kind of,
very much
if your
relied on
guest is
that.
FreeBSD,
Yep.
install that,
Yep.
configure it, and you have RDP into your guest. Why build it into the hypervisor? Yeah, okay, it works without
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But
configuration,
well,
but it
to
would be,
install, you have to do the thing. So yeah, it's all
yeah,
true.
I know. Uh, but what I would maybe wish is extending the VNC server to provide compatibility with all relevant clients. So the FreeBSD minimal VNC server in bhyve is a bit picky which VNC clients it likes.
Hmm.
And making it so that it adds a handful of things needed to make common clients like chicken of the VNC and so on happier. It's hopefully not much code. If it is, that's not that important, but confirming if it's possible would be nice. Just because it would give users a much better experience if the VNC server is more compatible.
Hmm. Okay. Other ideas, topics, questions, concerns, funny jokes, clever t-shirt ideas, funding sources. We all need some funding, it seems. I'll say it again. I literally can't afford to do these calls next year, given that my healthcare just went from, say, $500 a month to $1,800 a month if our politicians keep their heads wherever they keep them. So that's a me problem, not a you problem. But either way, I'll say it's been an absolute profound, sincere pleasure to work with all of you on all of this because vague ideas of things of progress are becoming very, very tangible projects with very tangible issues to resolve, like every bug we've mentioned on this call today. So keep up the
Uh,
good work, everyone. I'm not saying goodbye, but I'm saying thank you. How about that? I'm saying thank you. Yes, Jan.
Maybe that's not a good solution, but have you tried to make a sales pitch to the FreeBSD Foundation for this kind of work?
So, step one has been listen to them saying, go through the front door with a proposal. And I've worked with Hans to make a proposal, and Hans made a proposal, and there was a whole bunch of discussion back and forth, and they accepted the proposal. So, as of 10 days, that fundamental strategy is being exercised. And it's very easy to look back at it and say, oh, he just signed up and got it. But no, that was years in the making. So, that was step one. And thank you,
But
Hans, for being a part of that. That's fantastic.
you have a
Uh,
multi-year YouTube channel as your credentialist
yeah,
with
no,
all of
oh,
the
that's,
recordings and minutes.
yeah, I stand
I
by what
have
I've
just
done. It's
pitched
just,
your the recordings of your calls during the enterprise working group this week.
oh, was there a call this week?
Yes, there was a
I,
call this week,
God, okay.
and
And what did it conflict with? Out of curiosity.
nothing on my side. It was
Oh, jeez.
I think yesterday at 6 p.m. local for me. Uh,
Oh, okay. I,
so yeah, it
yeah.
was.
I've been talking to Alice about calendars, but we're still not sure of
Oh, it's
the
on the.
perfect
It
strategy.
is on their Google Calendar. On the.
Yeah, key point there is not mine. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
okay.
not you on yours, but you
And
can
we're trying to
subscribe
figure
to
out
it.
how to match. I know.
Yeah, maybe the FreeBSD project needs a CalDAV server. Anyway, um,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be that hard to set up. But joking aside, the call exists,
I'm sorry I missed it. I was probably a bit busy at the time
and
anyway, but such is life,
stuff
yeah.
like this. So, I think Chris Merce gets maybe some of his hours built to that.
Oh, really? Wait.
At least he runs the laptop uh,
Yes,
support
sir.
working group.
331 videos to date for those
Yeah,
who are counting. And I could log into Studio and find out like how much stuff and blah. There are some stats for you.
yeah.
Although none of these are monetizable because, gee, I need more short videos and I need more subscribers. And if you know 47 people, feel free to have them subscribe and all. They just keep moving the goalpost. Not that I want ads on these things. I think it adds some amount of advertising, but I sure don't want an ad to pop in while I'm here trying to understand what you're saying about some file descriptor handling. Anyway, uh, y'all very quiet. I'm really noisy. Roman,
Uh,
Hazem, and Hans, we have you in an unprecedented way. So, if anything, again, thank you. But do you have any topics, questions, ideas, curiosities you want to have answered? Or do we all have our marching orders on what we need to work on?
No questions from me.
No questions. Okay. Uh,
Yeah, same here.
awesome. Well, I hope that Ampere system treats you well. I had an epiphany last night that I could sit doing my Open ZFS and bhyve work on Ampere all day and night, and I actually pitched that to ARM, one of their community reps. Uh,
and
and I'd love to see a small business server based on some ARM platform that is not a toy from Jeff Geerling and is not a like $6,000 Ampere beast. There's got to be some
so
middle ground someday.
there are
Go ahead,
two
Jan.
devices in that middle ground.
Yes,
One
please.
of them you can buy. That's Apple
Oh, well,
Mac
yeah.
Mini. I know
With
it's
SAS
not.
connector and multiple drives.
You
Yeah,
know, wait a second. And
Yes,
the other one was the Windows ARM64 development kit.
if you can find
But
one. Yeah.
because of the Nuvia licensing drama, those are no longer available.
Mm-hmm.
And so this above laptop performance, kind of desktop performance ARM market is empty again,
Actually,
unless you count
nope,
Apple.
nope. Hold on. I have an answer for you that I'd like for all of you to see. Let me go find this. There is a minis forum with an ARM CPU for way too much money, but
Please
it's
don't.
quite,
That
I
thing is
know.
so cost.
Let's take a look at it. Let's do a quick look here because I mean, it is not $5,000, so there's that. That's a plus.
It's triple digit.
It is, yeah, it's like $600. Oh, one
Yeah,
moment. Let me find that. Your list. I'm navigating, and it's like the minis forum something A for ARM64.
but if you
And it
look at
sounds like
the
Lenovo's involved with that process of making that CPU available.
the problem with that thing is, if you look at Jeff Gerling's benchmarks,
Yeah.
it's all over the place, and it's a fairly inefficient system,
Oh, really? You've been
and it's
following. Okay.
cobbled together in weird ways.
Oh,
So it's
where is it?
not a good reference platform.
Hey
Bummer.
guys,
Hey, I
Hello, who's
just popped
this?
in.
Hey, Alexander, what's up? We're doing our
oh,
year in
just
review, for lack of a better term.
I just saw someone filed a bug on the Beehive chapter, and I was like, oh man, are these guys doing the podcast today? I'll hop on.
You can call it a podcast. I'll take it. Yes, we are. We've covered some really good ground. We've got Roman who's joined, perhaps for the first time, is working on LibVirt, which Hazem is relying on extensively. So, yeah, there's a lot going on.
Well,
And is this it? Jan, I'll put this in chat. Is this the ARM64 one that is make some attention? It's the MSR one? I thought it had an A in the name. There's an ARM workstation. Welcome, welcome, Alexander. What you working on while we buy
Thank
some
you.
time here? Hey.
Well, there's a couple of things. So, Dev Null Raf that hangs out on here sometimes, he has just filed a bug saying that basically, let me get the link instead of talking like this. He filed a bug that, we're not like grub-bhyve is out of date, so the handbook shouldn't link to that. And it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, like somebody should definitely spend 80 hours rewriting that entire chapter. I'm sure it's out of date because everybody just uses EFI.
No,
right?
I'll tell you the answer. Nope, nope, it's not even that. It's the fact that Chuck Tuffley brought it up to date, and grub-bhyve was up to date, and Peter said, "Oh no, UEFI is the future. Don't make a package of that." So it's like, well, yeah, but it's
What?
useful to some people. The ghost
Okay.
of Peter.
So the big issue with grub-bhyve is that grub is not written to protect the machine against the disk content because it's a bootloader. It's not part of its goal, so it's not hardened to that extent. But grub-bhyve runs on the host, remotely working on the bhyve VM, similar to the bhyve load command, just that instead of just running a FreeBSD loader, which is already enough attack surface, it runs runs the full grub as a host process as root normally. So that's a really bad idea, in my opinion, to use grub-bhyve at all. It was useful for getting bhyve up and running to boot non-FreeBSD guests at a time when EFI and boot ROM support was not yet implemented. In my opinion, it should not be used anymore without jailing the process.
Oh, well, hold on. I'm
Because
glad
as
you
far
finished the
as I know-
sentence. I'm glad you finished that sentence. It should not be used without jailing. Yes, which is a
Because,
perfectly valid
yeah,
point. Thank you, thank you, thank
because
you.
as far as I know, it is not capsicumized. So unless someone did the work, last time I checked, it wasn't. So yeah, you're kind of trusting grub with whatever it finds on the disk as root to parse and execute. And grub can do a lot of things, and is not really the most secure code base when it comes to parsing. I'm pretty sure there are several code execution vulnerabilities in grub right now, because with the justification that this is not a relevant attack surface for a bootloader, which they're right. It's supposed to load code from the disk anyway. So if that code attacks the bootloader, that's not important because it could just load something else instead.
The code loader loads code? Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, your runtime linker loads executable code. Yes, that's its job.
Goodness.
So because of that,
Goodness.
the code base is not hardened enough to be trusted to run as root on the host. It would be fine to run it in the guest, but it's not really running in the guest. It's kind of an insecure hypervisor running grub. But not in the hypervisor sense, because it would be one thing if you use EDK to chain load into grub into the real one. That's fine.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I don't know if anyone does it, but if you can, that would be the right threat model for the code base.
Well, the fact that you could load a bunch of other OSs, be it like NetBSD, was a good thing. So I'm not going to say, geez.
Especially when things like OpenBSD didn't have
Yep.
EFI support back then.
Yep. Bingo.
So it really solved a real world problem. I'm not
I know.
disparaging
So
it.
it's like, that's why it's so easy to pick on one thing, but you made the very valid point that you jail the thing and take whatever precautions. And I just asked Chuck, hey, was it ever capsicumized? Who knows? Maybe.
I
Anyway,
know it
Cool.
wasn't, but
I'm so glad I brought this up to you guys. I'm so glad we were doing this right now because I just got this and I was like, oh man, I wish I could just hop on and ask them. And then you guys are here.
well, here's the thing. It's like whenever you see that someone went to a very large amount of trouble to do something, there's probably a good reason for it, rather than, oh, they were just like out to torture themselves and the rest of the world and cause confusion. So no, there are very valid reasons, and it was very useful, and it was like great to be on stage showing new OSs on bhyve thanks to grub-bhyve. Sure.
Okay, perfect. So basically, what my recommendation is going to be is that we wrestle control of the port, Chuck updates it, and we put it in the doc that we change the doc. So instead of running a Linux guest with grub-bhyve, we're going to have running a Linux guest is going to be part of grub, or is going to be part of EFI, and then we're going to change these instructions to be running operating systems that don't support EFI with grub-bhyve, and we're going to use that in a jail.
so I just poked a friendly, very active ports committer to look at your update of a port, and he confirmed that he will look at it.
For EDK2
I
or
got a
grub-bhyve
response
or
here,
something
I
else
assume.
entirely? Because
The
there are a bunch of them.
EDK2 boot ROM.
Okay, well, we're in the same boat for both of those. Just Alexander to catch you up. It's like, well, the grub-bhyve and that are having their issues. And we're at the mercy of timeouts and nonsense and all. And so, Jan, you say this Miniswarm RS1 is chaotic, and even at the discounted 503.90 USD is not attractive.
I'd say here be dragons. There's some work needed to make it work with FreeBSD, I'm sure.
You mean I could have like the 15th ARM device from my drawer of ARM devices and Trail of Tears?
Sure,
That? Yep.
get it and mess around with it. You probably need some clock drivers and so on to even clock it at its nominal clock
Goodness.
rate and not as the kind of secure low power boot mode.
Goodness. Okay.
Then
Yeah.
there's like 3 different performance classes of ARM cores in there, if I remember correctly. One high, several middle, and several low performance cores and so on. The clock domains and the cache coherency between them and so on. Look at the performance numbers if you want. It's there's going to be performance pitfalls on that device, even if you get it working. But it is kind of the one non-Apple device in this performance class you can currently buy, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure saying don't buy it. I'm saying do some searching for what others have found trying to run Linux on it. It does boot Ubuntu, but I think it's a customized Ubuntu.
Oh, is it? And same with this little
But they're working
Lenovo
with Canonical to
X13
upstream that,
Snapdragon
so
piece of whatever.
yeah. So
Paper,
I think but
weight.
it's not a Snapdragon. It's some Chinese SoC.
Do we know if that has a GIG v3 for bhyve support? Because if it doesn't, it's completely academic. I'm sorry, I wasted a nanosecond on
It probably has that because of the pretty up-to-date cores it's using. I can't imagine that these cores even support running with the ancient interrupt controllers.
Well, even the latest Raspberry Pi is still using GIG v2.
I learned that the hard way this week with the Raspberry Pi 500
Even the
with
Raspberry
Fred
Pi 5?
F. It was
So it is possible.
disappointing.
But the Raspberry Pi version 5 is also using very old cores by now.
Yep.
I think it's A76, and these are the cores from last year, not the cores from half a decade ago.
Yeah. So thank you, lockdown. If anyone has $504, I'd be happy to poke at one of these, but it's probably another hopeless ARM platform to poke at. Anywho.
It's so sad that all the ARM platforms are hopeless unless you have 20 grand.
Bingo.
No, you don't need 20 grand.
Okay. Yeah, I've got the old Thunder X that was a freebie, and the Ampere, and the
I think Gigabyte
Honeycomb, and they're not bad, but
better
still,
systems.
Jeez.
Yeah, Ampera 1 and stuff like this exists. It's still 4-digit, but not 5-digit.
Bingo. Alexander, what else is on your mind? Was this a good year in FreeBSD?
In FreeBSD, this was a good year.
Okay, cool.
So I'm working on right now. I'm like sick and tired of people like send us patches. Like it takes so long. I mean, no, please don't misinterpret. I love it when people send us patches, but people
Ah,
send us patches and it's like, oh, like there's an example using FreeBSD 11, like just the version string FreeBSD 11 updated to FreeBSD, 14.1, and it's like by the time I can find the patch, it's already 14.1 is already EOL. So I sent out a patch today as well as an email on the list to establish a macro for the doc tree called rel-latest. And rel-latest will be the version string of the latest official release version at all times. Colin has already agreed that if we make it, he'll keep it updated. And then we're going to make everything use rel-latest, and then nobody is going to be able to send me these brain-numbing patches anymore.
there you go.
Of course, they can
Things
still
may
write out the
change.
literal and you have to do the search and replace.
Hmm.
But it's probably a good idea to have one both for the latest and for the oldest still supported, so that we have like right now it would be 14.3 and 13.5. So have the whole.
So I was thinking about that. That's why like the seemingly simple thing, like I made the patch, but I sent a whole email out to the list about it because it's like there's actually like a lot of considerations here. So we have a global macros file for the documentation tree, and that file is like hundreds of lines long. But none of them are the latest official release. Like we have a ton of macros for everything. Like for everything, we have one for the latest beta. We have one for the latest beta of the, I think, of like the last of like the legacy release. You know what I mean? We have a lot of macros,
Except
but
latest.
yeah,
Okay,
and
cool.
we don't have one. We don't have one for the. We don't have one for the oldest supported release either. But my fear is like that's not going to get updated.
No, just curious.
Well, I
But
think there is the release engineering team must have a process for end of life because they're sending warnings a month before that to certain mailing lists and so on, and those come reliably.
okay.
Every
I
time
thought
a
that it might
release
be. I thought that it might be security officer that does that,
No,
and I don't have a good experience with trying to get security officer to do stuff. Security officer is really like, it's like release engineer is like a big team and everybody wants to do that. And security officer is like, if anybody is willing to be the security officer, send your resume. Like,
let me check the end of life notification. Yeah, okay, you're right. End of life notifications come from FreeBSD security.
Ah,
The security
yeah,
officer at
so
FreeBSD org.
I
speaking of
can't
sec
get
team, go ahead.
sec team to update doc. Sec team doesn't want to update doc.
I can't get them to respond to that issue I reported that an Illumos developer pointed me to. So I put a bunch of effort into that and didn't hear a damn thing.
So I can, from personal experience, tell you they read your email,
Yeah, okay.
but they won't be very responsive unless you're kind of directly involved in the resolution.
Okay. Well, I
And
sent a patch from Illumos that hopefully addressed it, and hopefully someone saw if it addressed it. Anyway.
my experience with sec team is that it's like sec team needs to rotate more regularly, but like just nobody trusts each other to do the job. Like we trust Gordon to do the job and we trust Dag Erling to do the job, and these guys have been doing it collectively for over 20 years. Like it's like they're so burnt out on it, and it's like I don't want to see anything from sec team unless it's a big issue and I've got to act now, and in which case I will take decisive action. But if it's not that, shut up and leave me alone.
The problem by design is that sec team is forced to play within the established sec team prerogatives other projects have established. So it's kind of a black hole by design, because otherwise you don't get trusted with information by external parties.
Okay, that's way off topic, but it's very valid. Other bhyve topics as we wrap up.
Yes, I have the example code how to use an Sylve event to show.
Yes, please. That's right. Laser focused on topic, because that was quite
Um,
compelling and maybe a little ZFS daemon of Z data needs to just say, hey,
Let me just
let's
grab the
make your
screen share.
lives easier without even, say, parsing JSON. It's just, here's the information you want through the
So
protocol you want. Yes, sir. What you
there
got?
is SNL for simple Netlink.
Yeah.
It has a man page,
Hey,
simple Netlink
note what
free.
he's doing. Go ahead.
We're recording, right?
Yep,
So,
we are. Absolutely.
So here I'm initializing that. That creates the socket, or for the Netlink family generic. And then I look up the group name, so kernel. In
Oh, you define
theory,
it
you
there?
could have non-kernel Netlink services
Yeah, okay.
for user space communication. They're not used on FreeBSD, but the Netlink specification assumes that this is the useful feature. So, okay, if I can't find the kernel, something is completely broken, so just bail out, okay? And then I want to find my family, which is the NL event. Yeah. Okay. Now that I'm connected to this Netlink generic service, I want to add myself to a certain multicast group on that socket. So Netlink has its own concept of multicasting, which is not the same as IP multicasting. Because of that, it's all done via the setsock and so on. And once I get an acknowledgement that I'm subscribed to that group now, I can consume the messages. And now the little example program goes into an infinite loop and just reads all of these messages with the helper code for it, for parsing. So I have my struct so that's a generic GE for generic, NL for Netlink, message header, advert header, okay. It tells me, oh, it's a new event, okay. It's a type of event I know how to handle. And you get from the devctl output the first 3 fields via Netlink brought out as system, subsystem type, and then data is the remaining stuff. So I print that to standard out, and that's about it. Because it's an infinite loop, there's nothing to clean up. And there are some helper functions to do that up here. This prints the header and so on. And now if I do a make, hopefully it builds.
Feel free to drop the defines and the heavy lifting
Which
code in
one
the
is that?
chat. Ooh, broken.
Yeah, it's that's not really a big issue. So why is that? Did that go away or something? Apparently that changed. Damn it! I have to look up what happened to that function. So yeah, that's maybe a change in 15. I tested it last on 14.
Did you come up with that yourself, or did you pull it from some nifty,
No, that's stuff
well-documented wiki page and handbook page and stuff?
No, there's no documentation other than the code for this, which is why I came up with it myself.
Could you drop the definitions and the main code in the chat, and I'll drop it in the doc?
Yeah, not in the chat. I will
just right in the doc. I'll give you a big old landing zone. And we Generation Xers will see SNL and have a very, very different definition.
I know that you will just think about Saturday Night.
Bingo. And if you haven't seen the movie, it is hauntingly good. The casting is stunning. It's like Necromancer Zone. That's off topic. I'll even make it courier. Don't
So
shoot
here's
the
another
courier.
example code. For
So drop it on in there, ready for you.
it's
Rock and
just
roll.
the stupid
Simple. It's a simple
Zoom
thing.
hiding itself from me because I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
So here is the gist of the code. And I will just download it and create a second gist of that other code.
Cool.
Give me a second to make
Yep.
it
No
compatible.
worries. Anything else while he is doing that housekeeping? And I've added some terrible potential t-shirt ideas here for the list.
Oh, I've got something.
Yes,
But it's not
please.
that beehive.
That's fine. What you
It's a
got? Dude, we're on going.
okay.
It's probably more on topic than Saturday Night Live. So, yeah.
It is. So, we've been restructuring the release note, because yeah. So here's what I've got so far, and if anyone wants to take a look, that would be great because basically the release note since FreeBSD 6.2
Oh,
has
yeah.
had mostly the exact same text, in some cases the exact same text that comes from a template, saying, updating from previous FreeBSD versions is supported. Please use FreeBSD update or recompile the source tree after reading updating. So that no longer works because we have a new package base section.
Yeah.
So what we did was extremely bloated, like super long sentences and disorganized for FreeBSD 15, which is why I turned on the table of contents, because that, usually if you turn on the table of contents after a few weeks of looking at it, then you can start cleaning it up. So we're trying to do that with the instructions for updating FreeBSD in the release note. So once we get this, right, it's currently in not very good shape. I have a review open that brings it into better shape, which I dropped in the chat, but it's also still needs to move forward from there. And once we have it that everybody can look at it and nobody's screaming, then we'll update the template.
Organize the upgrading section. There you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yay,
And so you can
it's
see
getting
from the
attention.
pictures.
Yes, you've got pictures. Wow. Huh.
The pictures are out of date, but the key issue is, like, I think it's that last picture. On that last picture, it's like, this is what I want it to be. Upgrading from previous versions of FreeBSD, and then it's just 3 concise things. But Ivy already said no upgrading from distributions. It has to be distribution sets, and even that she doesn't like it, which is like, all right, fine. You've ruined my nice aesthetic, but that's fine.
Ha! Thank you, Jan. You even upped it from a doc to a gist. Woohoo! What does gist stand for? I'm sorry, I've never understood. Huh. Cool. Alexander, great. That is literally overdue, and I'm amazed we're not at like 16.2 just to have that in there. Like, yeah, we're 10 releases, major releases away. Okay, that's awesome. Well, everyone, Hans had to drop off. Hazem and Roman, happy ARM64ing. I expect great things from you, and you're already doing great things. It's down to Jan, Alexander, and them. Well, I, for one, wish you all a fantastic holidays and New Year. There's a slight chance I'll be able to drop on to into the next calls, but it's deep holidays, and for some, that's like totally inconvenient. For others, it is stunningly convenient. It's the escape from family and food and you name it, in food coma. Anything else, or shall we call it?
It's my 30th birthday on Sunday.
Happy 30th birthday. That's a pretty darn major milestone.
Thank you.
Do you want
Yes, December
congratulations or
birthdays.
condolences?
I have two kids in that department, and yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, condolences definitely is, the thing, but
For your
that's
birthday,
it.
would you like to call it? Would you like the
Oh,
honors?
thank you.
Yes, please. Absolutely.
All right, guys, smash up that like button, subscribe for more content later.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Hazem. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Roman. Have a fantastic holidays and New Year.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.